Alrighty. Welcome back, guys. It's week 5, right? Yeah, I didn't even know we're in week 5 already. It's going fast. But this week, we don't have any slides because you guys already know what's going on. So we don't have to spend time looking over the slides because you already know the deadlines. It's always on Sundays midnight. You should already. I love that you guys have posted questions now. There's about like 10 new people that have posted questions, so that's great. It shows me that you guys are using it, and I'm sure that the other tech fellows teaching are answering your questions. So that's great. Keep posting questions if you have any concerns regarding your project. So is there any questions regarding last week's project or like any issues that you guys went on and couldn't solve it after like about 2 hours of debugging? Yeah?
Is there a check-in already?
No, I'm going to give it to you guys right now. So since there's no slides, if you guys check your email, I would like you guys to go ahead and sign in. It should be bit.ly / CodePath Unit 4. So if you didn't get the email, I sent you guys this email with the code. Oh, so I mean the URL, and the code is models for the class code. It's gonna be models. If it's not models, then it's model. I forgot which one I put. Make sure you type this on the class code. bit.ly / CodePath Unit 4. Make sure the P is capitalized. Yeah. And the class code is either models or model. Can anyone confirm with that with me? Which one it was? No, like if it submits correctly, then that's the correct code.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It was models?
That's what I put.
Okay, then yeah, that's the code. You guys are good with the attendance already? Alright. So for today's week, I'm going to give an overview of what you guys are going to be learning this week. So this week, you guys are going to be working on the second part of Twitter. So in this week, essentially, you're going to be working on the same repository that you were working on last week. So don't create a new repo. There's nothing else to download. It's the same project that you guys worked on last week. The only difference is that you're going to add up to it. So same with Flix, as you added to it more parts. For this week, you're going to be adding to Twitter. And what you're going to be adding is you're going to add the feature to share tweets, to post a tweet. And you're also going to add the functionality to like a tweet and also to retweet a tweet. I know it's a lot of tweeting going on, but bear with me. And they kind of changed a lot of the way I did it because when I had to do it all in 1 week, like all the functionality in 1 week. So I didn't, but with the exception of adding the post a tweet. So I didn't get to add that function, but I'll still be able to help you guys because I redid it. So I'll know like what to expect. If you guys have questions, don't worry about it. But yeah, for my case, when I did it, you had to do Twitter all in 1 week without the post a tweet, like make your own tweet. So it was a little bit tedious because they did everything in one, but thank goodness they split it up into 2 parts. So it's a little bit easier. So hopefully this part will be somewhat easier since they also have the videos. When I did it, there was absolutely no videos. So I had to just look up the API and figure it out on my own. But for you guys are chilling. They have everything for how to do each part. So there'll be videos on it. Don't worry about it. And I know some students were asking me questions last week through email, asking me what other bonus like things they can add because they already finished these bonuses, but on the other one from last week. So I'm gonna send you guys an email after the class on ideas on what bonuses you can add, but I'll just tell them to you right now. Some of them that you can add is be able to view other people's user account. So if you tap on their profile picture, it'll take you to like their profile. Also add the functionality to view your own profile. The ability to also see images. Actually, that's they added it on this bonus for this week, so forget that one. But also load videos in from the tweet, and also the ability to load links that you or URLs that people post on their tweet. So instead of taking you to a Safari, have a WebKit open up on your own app and show you what the URL is about, and be able to go back to the tweet instantly. So those are cool features that you guys can add. If you want more, then I challenge you to add obviously auto layout, which I think they already showed you how to do it in this tutorial. Also theme color. So if you want to implement like a dark mode, that'll be pretty dope. And if you want even settings, settings that can modify how big the tweet is or the videos if you want it to load or not. So those are some ideas. I will email them to you just in case you missed out. But for now, that's about it. Make sure you guys complete these steps for the homework. And for the lab, they kind of changed it. It's kind of cool, but they didn't finish it. So don't worry about the lab. We're not going to do this lab. And you don't have to, and if you would like to do it, it's going to be hard because you can't, it tells you to download the assets, like the images and everything, but they don't have any links to it. So they're still working on this, so don't pay attention to a lab right now. What we're going to be working on is models. So I'm going to close this up right now, and I want you guys to open up Xcode. And this time, you're going to do something differently. You're going to open up a playground, which is the first option that you see in the middle right here. And once you open up a playground, you're going to be presented. Where'd it go? Oh, that's over here. Can't drag. Oh. You're going to be presented with these options. You just go ahead and click the blank one and add it to your desktop or somewhere safe where you don't lose it. And let me go back to this. Here it is. Cool. Stickies. All right, so today we are going to be learning about models. You guys know what that is? Models? Anybody give me a one-word explanation of what it is, what models are? No one? Yeah? Oh, I thought you had your hand up. Models are classes, essentially, but during the interview, you never want to say classes. If, for example, this is what happened in my case when I interviewed for Goldman Sachs. One of their questions was, design a software that handles post-transactions of a trade. So imagine that I'm a trader and I'm investing in stocks, and they want to develop a software that handles what happens afterwards, right? So the very first thing that you have to say is models. That is the first thing you say, and that's what I did. I say, oh, well, first we get our model, which is the trade. And you have the attributes, which consist of, or in other words, the class trade has the following attributes. It has the selling price, the day that it was sold, the time, the price that I was selling at, but the price that you bought it at, etc. And they're like, okay. The next thing is obviously your view, or your how it's going to look. So I designed a little prototype and everything, but I spent too much time on it, which is a mistake that I made. And lastly, your controllers. So, but what they tend to focus on is on the service layer. So in other words, what are you going to be using for your backend, your database? In my case, what I told them that I would use Firebase because it's a NoSQL database. It's super fast, it's real time, and it's way faster than a typical SQL database. And then they went on and asked me what were the differences between SQL and NoSQL, and expanded more on, they just try to see if I actually knew CS. So in the end, I got an offer from them, so it was pretty cool to have that. But just make sure you guys, if there's anything that you can leave from this class in regards to interview prep, Remember model view controller. Just remember those things. If they ask you to develop anything, any kind of software, start with your model, then go into your view, but don't even go through the view. Just go straight to the controllers, or in other words, your service layer. What is it that you're going to be using as a database or as your server to handle all the data that's coming in and coming out? Those are the main key points that the interviewees look at when they ask you questions like these. And so today, I know you guys have already learned the other two, view controllers and the views. So today we're going to be looking at models, which is the last step to complete your model view controller architecture for iOS. So when it comes to models, we're going to be implementing models in our own projects. And the reason why I want you guys to implement models is because this is how you're going to be doing professional code in iOS. And you can also implement what you're going to learn today into other software engineering stuff. Like when you do web apps, or when you make a Python app, or whatever it is, you're going to need to know an architecture. And the most common one, model view controller. So we're going to learn about classes, or in other words, models. And I'm going to show you different ways of initializing classes, different ways of, let me see, the different types of classes, and also how the different ways of initializing it, and as well as structures, which is in iOS, which you guys will learn today. So we're going to learn with classes today as a first part. So we're going to construct a class called human, and hopefully you guys are following me. And this human, we're going to give it an attribute of pounds, how much he weighs. And let me make this bigger because it's too small. Can you guys see that better? Yeah. Alright. So, and we're going to assign it to a double. And then, this is how you construct your initializers for a class. You call init, and then you give it the attributes that it needs for your human. In this case, it's going to be a double. And then what you do is you assign it, this is very similar to Python. You assign the self.pounds equals to pounds. So let's go ahead and let's create our first human, Michael. I'm going to create a human called Michael, and I'm going to give him a weight of 150 kilograms. I mean pounds. There you go. Cool. So if you try to run this, it'll just create a little text bar right here, and it created your human. So we have successfully created a human called Michael with 150 pounds. So how do we do subclasses? We're going to also learn how to subclasses, because in iOS, it's all about subclasses. A view controller, table view controller, those two are a subclass of view controller. So you guys need to know very well how to play around with subclasses as well. So let's create a superhuman that, let's see, actually let's go straight into, whoops, let's editing something else over here. Why'd it go here? Oh, okay, there we go. Let's create a subclass of human, and we're going to call it amazing human. And in order to make it a subclass of human, when you add I forget, what is it called? I forgot. I just zoned out right now. A colon. This is signifying that it's a subclass of something. So in this case, we're going to make our amazing human be a subclass of human. And what the amazing human has that's different from a normal human is that it has a name. So we're going to give it a name, and it's going to have a string. And in order to initialize it, you're going to need a name and the pounds, right? which is a double, and you're going to assign those equal to the attributes that you gave it. So in order to tell it that since we're passing pounds from human, since it's inheriting that attribute, what you do is, I'm pretty sure you guys, it's similar to Python, you call super.init, and then you give it the pounds. This is telling it, alright, you're going to inherit the pounds from human. So this is how Swift or your class knows that it's inheriting something from another place. And if you can recall, this is very similar to when we construct a view controller. So when we create a class like a photos view controller, right? We know that every time we create a file, we notice that it's a subclass of UI view controller. And if you guys notice, another thing is that we always give it a override func the view did load, and you notice that we put the super dot view did load, right? That's because the view controller is inheriting from view controller. This class photos view controller is a subclass of a UI view controller, and it's inheriting the view did load attribute that it has. So hopefully that kind of triggers your brain and start thinking of how everything works. So now if we create our superhuman, amazing human, it would be the same thing if we created another one. We just had the, we would create let's create another human called Miguel. And this is going to be an amazing human with name Miguel. So now we have an amazing human, Miguel. And what's different from the normal human is that the other human, Michael, doesn't have a name. He only has pounds. Oops. So now we're going to go into optionals and initializers. So what do I mean by this? Your classes sometimes may or may not have values that you want. Or what if you wanted to give like a default value if the user doesn't input anything for a name, right? Like you guys know how they, when you guys fill out a form when you're buying something, it says that like your street or your second street is optional. That's what we're going to do, the similar thing with our classes. We're going to have optional initializers in our classes, and I'm going to show you how those work. So for example, I'm going to create another class, and this time it's going to be a talented human. And this is also a subclass of human, not an amazing human, but a normal human from the top. I'm just going to put these closer. Alright, so what makes a talented human different than amazing human is that the talented human has talents. So we're going to give him a variable attribute called talent, and this is going to be a string. And now the second, and let's say that the some talented humans can have 1 or 2 talents. So how do you tell your class that it can have 1 or 2? Well, that's when optionals come in. So our other talent, it's going to be a string. You get it? It's going to be, you're going to have the optional into it, and this is how you add it. You add the little question mark on it. This is signifying that the other talent, oh, I spelled it wrong. The other talent is optional, meaning that it may or may not be initialized, or it doesn't even exist. The human might not have another talent, which sucks. So now how do we initialize it though? Let's go ahead and show you how to initialize a optional class. So you're going to do the same thing as the previous things, but this, and you're going to add the other talent as well. And for the pounds, don't forget to add the pounds. talent, other talent. Why do I keep putting D? There we go. Now this is where we are going to show you how to initialize it without the other talent. So first, you call the attribute that is required. In this case, talented is required because why? It's not an optional. Talent is not an optional. It has to be a string. So we're going to assign self.talent equal to talent. And we're going to inherit the pounds from our human class, and then you put the optionals later. Now we're going to the self.other talent equals other talent. So in other words, your optionals, your optional attributes have to be called after your inheritance function. So optionals can be set after calling the super.init. So that's what makes a difference between normal classes versus optional classes with optional attributes. So if we go ahead and create this human, this is how we can create it. We're going to create let amazing Michael equal to talented human. And this talented human is going to have the talent of jumping. And the pounds, we're going to give it 120 pounds. And guess what? I can leave it like that. Why? Because the other talent, oh shoot, oh it is missing. So you can just put nil, I think, because maybe sometimes you don't want it to have it or not. Oh. My bad, you do have to add it. So now let's go into the, now that we went over optionals and initializers, now we can go ahead into convenience initializers. So in other words, this is where you start combining optionals with classes and also default values. So I'm going to create another class, and this time it's going to be a milk class. So this class milk, it can have a couple things. We're going to have flavor and also fat. And before this, I'm going to create the flavors that there can be for the milk and also for the milk fat. So for the milk fat, I'm going to have skim, 1%, 2, and the whole. And for the milk flavor, I'm going to have regular, chocolate, and strawberry. So those are the flavors that we can have. And what you can do here is, since we're using enum is a way of identifying cases. So the milk flavor will have to be one of these three. And to do that, we're going to assign the milk flavor. We're going to do it using a let. And we just have to tell it that's going to be one of the milk flavors that we assigned before. Same with the fat. It has to be one of the milk fat that we assigned over here. So now let's go ahead and create. Now we're going to go over so you always, for each class has to have what's called the designated initializer, which is the most basic initializer. In other words, the initializer that covers all attributes. So in this case, we're going to have our first designated initializer, which is going to have flavor, and it's going to be a milk flavor, and fat, which is going to be a type of milk fat. And in it, I'm just going to make the self.flavor equal flavor, self.fat equals fat. So we created our first designated initializer, or in other words, the most basic form of initializing a class. Now I'm going to show you what's called convenience initializer, and I'll explain to you what it does in a minute. So the way you call the convenience initializer is you literally type convenience and then init, and you're going to, in this one, let's just assign the milk fat. Self.init flavor is going to be regular, and the fat. So what did we just do here? What we're doing here, what convenience initializers help you do is create an instance of a class without one of the attributes, but you have to call a default attribute. So in this case, let's say that I just wanted to create I don't really care about flavor, right? But what does worry me is the fat that I will be consuming in the milk. So in this case, memos milk, I'm going to create a memos milk variable, and since I don't really care about the flavor, I just wanted to decide on what kind of fat it's going to have. So I'm going to create a milk. I'm going to assign it to milk, and the fat, I'm just going to give it to skim. .skim. So what did we just do here? We were able to initialize a milk class without the flavor, without having to put in the flavor in here. Did you guys notice that? Back over here, if we wanted to create a talented human, all the attributes needed something. But in a convenience initializer, you don't need to. You only need to put whatever it is that you want. In this case, I'm only concerned about the fat, not the flavor. So I created a convenience initializer that creates a milk class for me, a milk object, without the flavor, without having me to input what flavor I want, because I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. And you can do the same thing for people that don't care about the fat, but they do care about the flavor. Let's create a convenience initializer for people who are concerned about the flavor. In this case, whoops. There we go. We're going to self.init, only this time the flavor is going to change. Flavor and the fat. Which fat should we assign it as the default? I'll let you guys pick. We got skim, 1%, and the whole milk. All right, that'll be our default. There we go. So now we can create another. We have created another convenience initializer that only takes in the flavor. But here's another question: what if I don't really care about what flavor or what fat it is? We can create another convenience initializer for that too. How do you do it? Do the same thing. Convenience init, and in it you're not going to put anything. Why? Because the person doesn't care about the flavor or the fat. So in here we're going to give it the default values. which in this case the flavor is regular, and the fat is going to be whole. Cool. So this is the purpose of convenience initializers. It's for when you create options for the user to put in the inputs, and then you have to at least give it a default value. So this is the whole purpose of convenience initializers. So now if you go back into your outside of the class, we can create a default milk, and in order to initialize it, you just call milk. And that's it. You have successfully created a milk object, but since we didn't put any attributes specifically that we wanted to, it's going to have these default values that we gave it to. But remember that you have to assign the values to it, or else it will give you an error. So that's the purpose of convenience initializers. So let's go into one of the last ones, which is failable initializers. And as the previous adjective that comes to it suggests, it's going to give an error if something's missing. It's going to tell a user that something is missing on the on the initializer. So to create failable initializers, let's go ahead and create a fox class. And this class is going to consist of the age of the fox. And this is how you make a failable initializer. So the difference is you're going to create a required init. Int self.age equals age. So now what is the purpose of required init? Well, let's say that you created a subclass of a fox, and you created amazing fox, which inherits from fox. This class is going to have, it's required to have age. Why? Because it's a required initializer. So in other words, we created a failable initializer. If the user inputs an amazing fox, but it doesn't give it an age, it's going to fail. It's going to return you an error and warn you that, hey, you need an age because it's required. So this is how view controllers assign the subclasses for some of your projects. It'll tell you that, oh, you're missing this, like you need it. Or for example, when you create a table view, you notice that when you assign the protocols on top of the class, for example, the UI table view data source, it'll give you an error saying, hey, you need the functions. That's exactly what it does here with the required init, because once you assign a table view, your class, the view controller, is required to have two functions: the amount of cells that you're going to have, and also the amount of the what each cell is going to contain in it. So if you, and I'm going to show you how it does it here. So if I don't put the required on the amazing fox, it will return us an error. Let me show you. In this case, it would be super.init. So it's been warning us in here. It's already telling me, it's already warning me, hey, it's not just any initializer, it's a required initializer. So let's go ahead and add that required init so we can shut up this guy. Oh, that was loud. What happened here? Oh. What happened? Oh, my bad. There you go. That's fine. And if we wait a little bit, rerun it. What's missing here? What happened? Oh yeah. Thank you. There you go. Yeah. So that is the last one that I wanted to cover. And I wanted to also cover structures. So if you what do you think is the way of initializing structs? Well, good news for you, because it is exactly the same thing as initializing classes. But what are the differences between structs and classes? The difference is that structs cannot be inherited. They cannot inherit anything. So in other words, you cannot create subclasses with structs. And also, if you create a struct and you create, for example, let memo fox equal to amazing fox age 15. The differences between, if I created another one that's called Miguel Fox is equal to memo fox. With classes, what you create here is a reference. So Miguel Fox is referencing to memo fox. So if I were to print these out, if I were to change memo fox's age to 20, and I print Miguel Fox.age, it's going to give me 20 because Miguel Fox is a reference to memo fox. Let me show you that. So I'm going to change memo fox age equal to 20 now. And then I'm going to print out Miguel Fox.age. $20. You saw that? So what I just did is I created a memo fox class. I gave it the age of 15. And I created another Miguel Fox, set it equal to memo fox. But what does this equal do? It's not creating a copy. It's creating a reference to memo fox. So in order to prove that, I changed my age of the memo fox to 20. And then I printed out the Miguel Fox age. And notice that I didn't change Miguel Fox age. But yet, it still gave me 20, which is what I changed it afterwards. So that's the difference between structs and classes. With structs, if I were to create if I set Miguel Fox equal to memo fox, what it does is structs, it creates a copy of it. So if I were to print out Miguel Fox age, Miguel Fox would be 15, which is what it was before, because it created a copy. It didn't create a reference. Those are the two main differences between structs and classes. The first one, inheritance, and the second one is references. All right? So that's what I wanted to go over today. So using this knowledge, you're not done yet. Now we're going to apply all this knowledge to one of our projects. So that's why I created for you guys a project starter on your, where is it? It's called a simple to do. And what I want you guys to do on, let me open it up so I can show you. We're going to create a to-do app. So what this app should do is it should be a way of creating a simple to-do reminders. So here we have our storyboard. I've already done the basics for you. I have the title of my to-do, the day that it's due by, and the description. And I created it has a button that takes you to this view controller, which allows the user to create their to-do or their little reminder. And you add the title, the date, and the description of the to-do. After you click save, it should save it into an array, and you guys use that array to call it out in yourselves and display it. What you guys have to do is implement the note or the to-do class. So for example, you noticed how each to-do has a title. a description, and also the due date. So your class note has to have three things, which are the things that I just mentioned. And on your all notes view controller, you're going to implement the table view functionality and also the functionality to add a note. So three things, right? The model, you're going to construct the model for your to-do. And then the second step is to configure your table views. And then lastly, add a note. So if you go back to your storyboard, this button, I want you guys to add the logic to it so that it adds the note into your note class, which is right here. So I created a static variable, all notes, which is an array of notes. So every time that you click the save button, you should add a note into this note class right here. Sounds pretty simple. And in the end, I'll show you guys what it should look like towards the end of this. I'm going to run it. Here it goes. And by the end of this session, you guys should have completed your own to-do app. Or simple to-do. That's what I called it. So I already assigned mine to create a note saying welcome. So if there's no notes, it'll create one for you automatically as a displaying like a welcome page. And then this is what you guys are implementing. So I'm going to create a title. This is an example. I already implemented the keyboard that shows you the date, and it updates when you change it. So I already did that for you guys. And the description, that's where you put whatever. And when you save it, it should go and add it to the arrays, and you can go back, and then it'll update it. Simple enough? Awesome. I'll be here around, and the purpose of this is to practice what you've learned and also implement your new knowledge of classes. I want you guys to start doing your, start programming as a professional, because if you don't have professional code, you're not going to get into a professional job. All right? So I'll be here around to help you guys and ask questions. So use me as a valuable resource. But if you guys have to go, or if you have a midterm or something, like some other students had, you guys are welcome to leave. But I'd be happy if you stay. Hey man, how's it going?
Yeah, I want to give this to you that
Your proposal, like project proposal?
not just proposal.
Okay.
So Professor Junior Daniel Esther.
Daniel, sir? No.
I mean, you can be a good professor to be mentor in the future. I mean, he teach the informatics 143, and he has some project. It's about related to software implementation, and using really good candidate to do, because right now he's about slightly mentor to do the activate.
Oh, so you want me to talk to him
Yeah, if you, I mean, yeah, if you
for what?
for
Regarding what?
because you want the unit, right? I mean,
For what?
you want to get earn a unit for these classes, right?
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think maybe we could to talk with her. I mean, talk with him.
So you want me to talk to her about the giving you credit through her through that?
I'm not talking about. I mean, in the future, if you want to.
Oh, in the
Like
future.
yeah, for
Yeah,
student, not for
that'll
me.
be great.
Yeah, and also, I'm sure for so I want to ask you, like, because our so I want to make sure everything is so the week 12 will be we will have demo day in the week 12 with spring break, right?
I actually plan to have it demo day Friday, week 10th.
Friday?
Yeah, last Friday, week 10th.
Next Friday?
No, week 10th.
Oh, week 10.
Yeah.
Oh, so you mean so 2 weeks still means
So you'll have 3 weeks before to work on your project.
good project.
Yeah.
Also means still week 6 begin good project.
Yeah, we're gonna start week 7, I think. Yeah, week 7. We're gonna start working on your group projects.
Mm.
And by week 10, the Friday, I'll have times for you to come
Mm-hmm.
present to me.
Week 5.
Week 10.
Week 10.
Yeah.
Present to you.
Yeah.
Also,
I'll give you a schedule of when I'm available, so you can come present.
So we
to
don't
me.
need to schedule. We don't need to present to the company.
Not yet.
Yeah.
That will be later on.
Also different. I mean.
Yeah, it's a different one.
Really?
Yeah. So the demo day here. Yeah. Have a nice one, guys.
See. So you mean the demo day is here to present?
So we're gonna have a demo day here first, and then there's gonna be a demo day later on.
So I mean, you
based
choose the team, and then you select. I mean, like you choose the team to do it. Or
Yeah, me and other tech fellows are going to look at your projects, and we're going to pick out the best ones to go.
one or two.
Best ones, no, like the best out of each school. So each school is gonna have like a group of students that were really good.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see.
There could be multiple people that go, as long as we can pick as many as we want, as long as they're really cool, you know.
Yeah. And also, so my question is about the app because I know design but I know for the graph they have to jump to the web to let the user to enter it, and we want to let user to use the Gmail organization to let them to log in and log out, but we found that we have to jump out to the web page, right?
Yeah.
And also, I don't know because we think about if we want to let a user to make some comment or some do something or some to view the page or some when they use the app we record their behavior or some history.
What kind of history?
I mean like which page which posting he's looking. Yes.
Oh, which post he's
Yeah,
looking
which
at.
post,
Oh, okay.
And also which activity he would like to join, and also which question has some kind of this question. So we want to record it so that we can tell them or we can send him the information on Gmail or message to tell him that there's a available workshop or there's some your question has been replied and has been answered. Some kind of this. So I think because if we use the Gmail to authorize, I think we do not. How can we identify different users?
Yeah, you can use Gmail, or you're talking about Google authentication.
Yeah.
You can. I think Parse has there's a way you can implement Google authentication using Parse, which you will learn next week when we start working on Instagram, creating users.
Oh, so you mean?
Yeah, we'll learn that next week.
We're gonna message to.
But don't worry about implementing Gmail. Implement your own users and passwords for testing. And then if we really like your idea, then later on you can start adding on to it.
Oh, you mean? Okay, got it. So just simple, just like user interface.
At the beginning, just make it simple. Just make a little username and password. That's it.
That's it.
Don't try to use Google or
Gmail.
Facebook or anything. It's too complicated. Their authentication system it's a lot of work just to put just to authorize users.
Yeah.
And we don't want you to spend a whole week on just authorizing users. It's useless.
Yeah.
Focus on your VP, on what your most valuable product is, which is essentially being able to see what the users stay on, read, right? Or what is your main
function?
What is the main function of the app? What is the special function that makes it special or unique compared to other apps that exist already? Focus on that. Anything that's like user related, the theme, don't focus on those things. Focus on the core functionality. Yep.
Yeah.
So it's okay to ask questions though. You can ask me more about like Google authentication. When I did it, I tried doing Google authentication, but my mentors told me the same thing. They said just work on a simple user and password, because I wasted 3 days trying to implement Google, Facebook, and email authentication. So I just ended up creating my own basic username and password. That's it.
Oh, that's more simple.
Yeah, because that user authentication, that's not what makes your app unique. That's not going to make it special.
Yeah, just some technical problem.
Yeah, that's just something that every app nowadays have it.
Yeah.
So what makes it more special is what you're going to be putting into it after user authentication.
So at the week 10, we present to you for the app, right? At the week 10 Friday.
So yeah.
Just make sure. Just want to make sure the deadline for group worker.
Yeah, it'll be week 10 Friday.
Week 10 Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
you can keep working on it, but that's the day when you're going to present to me and
Yeah.
show me what you've done so far, so I can verify that you guys learned.
yeah. And also, I need a limit for the people, for the members in the group.
Oh, in the group, no more than 6.
No more than 6.
Yeah.
Close. It's close. 6 or 7.
6 or 7.
Because
once you add more than 6 people, it'll start getting confusing.
because
Because in the end,
we are not doing the same thing. Actually, we just combine two we have, because we have 7 people or 6 people, and each people will doing one function. So we combine.
No, yeah, but it's hard. It's hard. Trust me, it's hard to like manage. Because what if one person doesn't really know how to do it? Then another person is gonna come in, and then they're gonna leave their job.
Because we know each other, and so usually we have a meeting every week. So
Oh really?
yeah, it is.
Okay.
So we just began the week 1, so we have meeting every week. So just I should tell you about the last 2 students who is interested to join us, and they also will be in our group. But usually, right now we are separated into 2 groups. One of them is talking about some commercial function, and one of them is for our group is for the academic, and later on we combine them together. It's like some different module, and after that we combine together to be a group. But this more important is that for demo day is changing. The week 12 is about the week 10. So
Yeah.
That's
So you're gonna have 3 weeks. So make sure you get your group managed and you get a strong group, so that you guys don't have any issues working together. But usually, the bigger the group, the harder it is to organize it.
Yeah, right. So basically, we have 2. So you can see that we have 2 people to working about the UI and other for the coding. And also, each one we just learn about their interest function, and at the week 6 we begin the coding. But separate, and then at the moment each week we will finish one function and let them to lead everything. So.
Okay. It seems like you guys are actually organized, so I will make an exception out of you guys, since you guys planned it out really well.
We reply to Professor Daniel because right, though he is not giving our credit or something else, but he is willing to be our study mentor, and we appreciate that. So I think and we will, every student we will give him a report some to show
Mhm.
what we have done in this past week and then get some feedback from him.
Right. Sounds great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you mentioned that he can be willing to help me offer
Oh,
iOS for credit?
Yeah, also I can ask him because like I will ask more question. You see in the last section here, I will ask more question about the code or the UI or some the code patterns to let him know more information about us.
Okay. Well, these are some questions for him or for me? For
For
you.
for this question is for this report. I mean,
Oh, okay.
yeah, if you have more some question about the first, I also can add inside and then let the professor know. And professor usually will, if he think if necessary, he will have office hours with us to talk about it.
Okay.
And also at that moment, if you want, we can join the, talk together with professor. To, you can talk with him to know about how to get the credit to student in the future.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
You want me to write down the question?
Sure. Do you know him? I think.
I don't think so.
I still because I just emailed this, almost 30 messages to every person and he just reply us and it seems like so for BIM this is in the department which department is in the ICS department or business?
For this class?
I mean for the BIM the major.
Both BIM? It's both.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
My major is both BIM and computer science. Mm.
And you don't know, you can write your email and at the moment, so you can email to yours. So do you have a club in for about the iOS development in the user?
A club?
Yeah, some like for the code test.
I created it,
Oh,
but yeah, but this is what we do. I created the club so we can get rooms.
oh,
Yeah,
I see.
yeah.
Yeah, because like after in the two, after 2 quarters, in the next quarter, we are planning to create like some kind of similar iOS club, or some to teach students to learn or group them together to develop more interesting iOS app. So I think,
Yeah,
we can base on this.
I would be down, but the thing is that I also want to start. I want to learn more. So like next quarter, I'm planning to learn web development.
The web development?
Yeah, like more web development, like Django, Node,
Yeah.
Express.js. And also I have
So
my boss for this.
this is
He's offering me. He's gonna graduate,
oh
so he's gonna get another job, and he wants me to take over.
yeah, sure.
So I wouldn't be anymore. I would not be a instructor anymore. I would be a national TPM instructor. So
I see.
what he does is he manages the teachers,
I see the
Yeah.
students.
and me, I just manage students. Yeah.
I see.
So next year, I'm most likely gonna be managing teachers now.
Sounds
So-
cool.
So I want at least some of you guys to become
Yeah,
a
sure.
teacher.
But yeah.
There's always people who want to do it.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of like who's down, and who's also a good teacher. You can't just. I mean, you might be good at iOS, but are you good at teaching? Are you good at? Are you good at talking to people?
Spanish.
Do people understand you? That's the hard part.
That's all very important.
So that's why he wanted me to be at the top now because
Because they just graduated.
they like what I've been doing,
Mhm.
and he wants me to give the example to other teachers.
Oh, I see. So all the material is in the website is created by you. I mean,
Most of it.
almost wow.
On the course portal, that's them.
That's
But the material that I go over here, that's me.
all everything. I mean, the materials and the code is all by you.
Most of it, like this one, yeah. Like I did this one for you guys,
Oh, it takes much time.
cause yeah, it's very time consuming. Well, I don't even have to do this. What I'm supposed to do is go over the course portal,
Oh yeah.
go over what you guys are going to be working on during this week, and then have you guys start on the homework and work on it in class. For me, that's kind of boring. I want to show you guys how stuff works, and then have you guys work on something cool. Yeah, so I finished emailing him.
Did you? So for the COPAS, is the non-profit organization is a national organization?
Yeah, it's a national organization.
So you mean there's some power in the UCI and other schools?
Yeah, we're all over the nation.
Oh, I see.
There's people at CSU San Jose. There's also at University of Arizona.
DC, UCDC,
No, not UC.
UC San Diego.
UC San Diego, UC Santa Cruz. We're teaching. Yeah, this is the nonprofit teaches everywhere. Yeah, a lot of places.
Yeah.
So
So how many teachers are in the UCI?
UCI
Yeah, for teaching like
for iOS.
Yeah.
There's only 3 of us. The other 2 people that taught it last quarter.
Oh, there's also the.
Yeah, and then but one of them is now the national manager, and then the other one, he's with me. But he does all the grading, most of the grading and other stuff, and I'm the main instructor.
Oh, I see.
But my partner taught last quarter,
Lux or
and then I came in. Yeah, I'm sure there's other people that know iOS,
yeah, I think.
but they just don't know about
Oh, the
CodePath.
CodePath.
Yeah.
So later on, if professor, if I ask or email and then I'll tell.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
What's your name again?
Jackson.
Jackson. Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Keep in touch.
And do you
And
have
let me
more
know.
question about? Do you have more? Question do you want to ask about for the Daniel, Professor Daniel? Just this one. Or?
We're just with that. Tell him that I would love to talk. Actually, I'll put them. Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go.
Is that good? Okay. Yeah, I can show you. Professor Daniel's, and then show you can email. You can know. He's an informatics professor, and I think he's a good mentor because like true professor may suggest him to be mentor.
Okay, sounds great. I think I have seen him then,
Really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
but not had a class with him or anything.
I'm not
I've just seen him.
Just see it.
But yeah, I'll let him know, and
See you.
I would love to talk to him. All right, man. Take care, Jackson. Yeah.
See you.
Hey, Chase. Everything good? Pretty good. So we went over our classes today. I can go through an overview. Pretty quick.
So, have you experienced with MVC before?
Awesome. So it's not too much. It's not too bad. We went over initializers. So there's a lot of types of initializers. These are the main ones though. So we have designated initializers. So that's the one that all of them need, which is, okay, if you have a variable, then obviously that class is going to have, it's going to need that attribute initialized. Subclasses, I showed them how to do subclasses, which is pretty similar to Python.
Yep.
In this case, we have an amazing human, which is a subclass of human. It has its attributes, and the way you call an attribute from your inherited class is using super, similar to Python, right?
Yep.
All right. Now here's the cool stuff. So optionals. Sometimes they might give you a nil value. Well, in that case, you give it the optional or the question mark on it, and that way it'll tell your class, hey, this guy might have a talent or he might not. So just so letting you know, this is how you do optional attributes. In other words,
Wait, so in this case, if nothing's passed, like, because if you're asking for something in the initializer, what, like, how would you indicate that you want that could be blank?
oh, you don't indicate it here.
Okay.
This is just saying that it could be nil.
I see.
Like there's a possibility, for example, when you call a user, when you grab it from the internet, let's say that you were on the Twitter, right? The user was an optional or one of the attributes for it, because some users don't put their age. So this attribute, age, could be optional because users don't need to put in their age. They're not forced to. But we go into convenience initializers, which shows what you were asking me about. So what if they don't put anything? So this is where we learn about convenience initializers. So in this case, we always need the designated one, right? That's the most basic. Then you can put however many convenience initializers that you want. In this case, we have a convenience initializer with just a flavor. So in other words, we're initializing a milk class without the fat.
Gotcha.
But in order to do that, you need to give fat a default value. In this case, we give it 2%. Same with here. We created a convenience initializer without the flavor this time. But we gave the flavor a default value of regular. And then we have, what about the people that don't care about the flavor or the fat? Well, you just create a convenience initializer with nothing in it. And you give it the default values of regular.
So in this case, this one would call the flavor convenience initializer, since that's the only one that's passed through.
This one?
Yeah.
No, this one will just, what do you call it? Oh, yeah, it would just call this one if it doesn't have the,
Since fat wasn't also declared with it.
Yeah, so
Okay.
this one is calling this one.
Gotcha. And then the regular initializer is the one that has the most
All the
parameters.
attributes.
Gotcha.
But you always got to have one designated initializer that has everything, all the attributes, or else it'll fail. It'll
Okay.
give you an error. Required. These are different. What makes them different is that all these subclasses. So if you create the main class Fox and you create a subclass of Fox called Amazing Fox, if you create a required in it, that means that all your subclasses of Fox must have this in the class. These wording sounds weird, but if I just put, for example, init, this will give me an error because it's saying that it's required.
Okay.
Right? This is to prevent people from, let's say that you guys are working on a big project and you're creating a class of a user, and each user has this and that and that, and but you want for sure to have the user a username, a password, and the maybe like what they like about UCI. Well, you create a required initializer, and then when your other team members are working on it, and they try to do something with creating a subclass, you can tell them that the user needs these by creating a required initializer.
Okay.
Cool. Oops. So I emailed this to you guys, and then there's also failable. So what these do is that you can set constraints or like certain, the attributes have to follow a certain logic to it.
Okay.
For in this example, you're using cow, and it will initialize if and only if the age is greater than 0. So in other words, you cannot create a cow that's -5. If it does, it's going to give you nil.
Okay.
So it creates a cow, but for the age, it's just going to have nil. That's a failable initializer. Otherwise, if it gives you a valid age for the cow, then it will give you the actual age of the cow, which is 20.
Gotcha.
And then we went over structs. So I asked the students what's the difference between structs and classes?
Classes,
Nothing.
functions.
Well, in terms of initializing them, nothing.
Okay.
They're the same exact thing. Like the way you can create a struct with failable initializers, you can create a struct with required initializers, etc. The main difference is that I don't put it here. Where is it? Oh, I have it here. Good thing I saved it. So the difference between these two is that the difference between classes and structs. Classes, when you set a variable equal to another class, what this is doing, the equal sign, is not really creating a copy. It's creating a reference. Yeah. So what happens when I set Miguel Fox equal to Memo Fox is that this is going to be a reference to Memo Fox. So whatever happens to Memo Fox, it's going to happen to Miguel Fox.
Okay.
And to show proof, I changed the Memo Fox to 20. So back then it was 15, now it's 20. I printed out Miguel Fox age.
Okay.
And guess what it gave me?
Is it still 20?
20.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's almost, I guess it's basically a pointer to Memo Fox.
Yes,
okay.
Pointers. Exactly. You took C++ already?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so it's pointers. And with structs, however, if you set Miguel Fox equal to Memo Fox, it's no longer pointers.
Okay.
It creates a copy.
So it's its own instance.
It's its own instance.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay.
And the other difference of struct is that struct, you cannot create subclasses.
Oh, okay.
There's no inheritance. Yeah. But with classes, you can create inheritance.
Okay.
Those are the main things.
Sounds good.
Nothing much.
So then,
and
is there a lab to work on, or
yeah,
I got the email.
The to do.
Mm-hmm.
So what you have to do is implement the construct a note class. So it's a little simple to do app where you can type in the title. Each note or each to do has a title, the day that it's due by that you have to do it, and then the description.
Okay.
So you're gonna construct the class for the to do, and you're gonna also add the functionality of the table view.
So table view would just consist of a list of like note objects.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Exactly. And for your and then you just add the functionality for the save button.
Okay.
Which is on your note view controller. So it's right here. I marked everything with the to do.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I took your advice about the hackathons. Just like for iOS apps, you just gotta build something out, put a little backend in.
Oh, really?
I went to Slow Hacks this weekend.
Oh, you went to Slow Hacks?
Yeah.
How'd it go?
It went really well. My team, we didn't win, but we won a bunch of the sponsor awards. So we ended up walking away with like more money than the first place winner.
What the heck?
Yeah, it was really good.
Nice.
Really good.
Nice
weekend.
job. So
thanks for all your teaching.
They don't care about if it works or not.
Exactly.
They just care that it looks nice and the idea is good.
Yeah, I just used view collection views, navigation controller.
Right.
It was all working.
And you just made it look nice, right?
Yeah.
What did you make? Can I see?
Yeah. Here comes.
That's dope.
Is it in class again?
Yeah.
Nice. So I
simulate the app because it uses the backend, and the backend's down now.
Oh.
It's shut down. I used that lice cap to do a gift of it.
Oh, show me.
Let's see what I do.
Yeah, as long as at what's it called, the hackathon, as long as there's no engineers as judges, you're good. You can just make dummy data.
Well,
Don't
actually,
even have a server.
we won GoDaddy's award, and that guy was an engineer. So
Oh,
he was
yeah?
actually looking through it. He was like, "Oh, this is pretty good." Like,
Oh,
really
nice.
kinda good.
Dang.
This was the app. Oh shoot! We don't really play on the preview.
Is it a .gif?
Is it? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is.
So now when they put in the review, it's fine.
Put it on the open with and choose another window. Okay, I think Chrome should be fine. I don't know why I opened the window. Oh, usually what you can do is, oh yeah, you change the view mode. Edit. It's not even the space bar.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. So, okay, well, so our app was like a volunteering thing that incentivizes people to sign up to volunteer. So that showed all the events in your location when you signed up, would like go into your profile.
yeah.
You like scroll from wall, and then by volunteering you earn points, which can redeem for local businesses.
Oh, okay.
And then there's like also a leaderboard of like all the people in the area and like how many points they had. So we had a whole like
Did you do the whole backend?
no, someone else worked on the back end, but we did build it.
Oh no, but did you guys like
Yeah.
build the whole, it was completely functional?
Yeah.
No dummy data.
No, so they could log in,
Dang.
and then they would like make events.
So you also made a website?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't
you
work on the
guys-
website, I just did the iOS app, but
Wow.
Dang.
and there's like stats on all the events and stuff.
Dude, you guys built a whole full stack like web app
Yeah.
and mobile app together. Okay, no wonder you guys won. Yeah.
So we ended up we just got like $300 in Amazon gift cards and then the
Nice.
backpack.
Oh, you got swag and everything?
Yeah.
Okay, I see you. Nice
So
job.
it was all the stuff I learned on like collection views and
That's all you
table
need?
views.
Yeah.
So
It's that's all you need from, and now the last thing. So you know the basics now to win at hackathons, but this is the last step for acing the interviews, models.
yeah, exactly.
Because now that you have Model B controller architecture in iOS, now you can actually go in and like sound really professional.
What job offer did you get for Golden? Like an
Software
internship?
engineering. Oh yeah, it was an internship.
You interned at Goldman Sachs.
No, I got an offer
Oh, yeah.
for this upcoming summer.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Congrats, man.
In New
Thank you.
York?
Yeah.
Wow.
They offered me Salt Lake City, Texas, and New York. So I wanted to go.
I would too. Do you think you're gonna take an offer?
They had to revoke it because I'm an immigrant. I wasn't born here, so I don't have DACA either, so I can't work like legally. So they had to revoke it, but we ended up on good terms. So what happens is that they told me, hey, once you get everything fixed, you can come back to us and you can reapply, and we'll give you like the highest priority for full time once you graduate. So I still have that as a backup,
Nice.
but I wanted to do something over the summer. But I guess I'll be learning more stuff.
Is that when you volunteer then? That's where you're volunteering as an instructor right now too? Or
Yeah, right now I'm doing this because it's unpaid, so I don't need to worry about like, yeah, I don't need to worry about getting any papers or anything. I can do this free, and I don't mind either. But anyhow, I want to show you guys how to do it. So we're gonna learn how to do models professionally. So if you can, is this the? Okay, yeah, this is the starter one. So let me open up mine so I can remember what I did. Oh, here it is. Alrighty. So let's go to our first step. which is build the note. So we have our static variable. This is where we're going to keep and store all of our notes that will be saved through the submit button or the save button. But first we need to create the attributes of our note. So the first one will be to-do title, which I gave it to you guys right here. It's going to be a string. And then you have the to-do date, which is also a string. And a to-do description. Those are the three main things that you need for your app, for your note, right? As you can see from our storyboard, that's the three things that we need. So now we just need to initialize it, which is right here under the comment where I put it. And I'm going to create a designated initializer, or in other words, the most basic initializer you can ever create, which is the one that has everything. We're going to have the title, we're going to have the date, which is also a string, and the description. And now we just set the variables, the attributes, equal to each parameter that we're passing. So we have the to-do title equals title, to-do date, which is equal to date, to-do description, which is equal to description. Did you guys have this so far? Yep. Awesome. So now that we have that, let me just build it so I can get rid of that error. Cool. So now it's just giving me the error from the table view, which is our next step. So in here, since we created we already have an array going on over here, which is called all notes. So I'm going to call that reference into my table view, and I'm going to return note because we're referencing the class note. And now we just need to access the all notes. The reason why I made it a static variable is because I want this to be accessed by other view controllers. If you just had it variable, then this would be considered as an attribute of the note. So make sure you create a static variable. That way, now it's just it's like its own variable, and it doesn't pertain to note.
So it's instead of doing the class, like the class, like not an instance of the class, but the class itself.
Yeah, it's not an instance of a class. It's just like a directory where I'm keeping all notes. That's what makes it static. And .count. Make sure you put that there. And now we're going to create our table view cell. So we're going to create our cell, which is notes table view dot dequeuable with cell with identifier. And I already created the note cell class for you guys. Can you guys see that? Yeah, note cell. So it's a note cell. And then outside you put the as note cell. And then once we construct it, now we need to access the each note. So this is how you guys would have thought of doing it based on what we've currently learned, which is let note equal note. No, it's going to be note dot all notes, right? And then you access the index path dot row. So that's how you access each note. And then this is what you guys would imagine doing, right? You would do the cell.title, to-do title, equal to the note.title, and then cell.to-do date, and then the cell.description, and then you just return the cell. Oh. Yeah, my bad. But before this, let me tell you something. description. Okay, so this is what you guys might have thought of doing so, right? Let me tell you something, you're wrong. This is not how you code professional iOS table views. So today I didn't get to show everyone else, but this is how you would do professional iOS coding. So instead of doing all this, I'm going to copy it and comment it out. In the real professional world of iOS development, all you would do is you would do something like this: cell.note equals note, and that's it. And you return the cell. So then what are we supposed to do in this case? It's shorter, it's more efficient, but what are we supposed to do now? Well, we're going to go to our note cell, and we're going to play around with something called the did set. And I will explain to you what it does. But basically what you do is, what if we were to make these outlets equal to the variable note right here, like in the same note file, right, the cell file? Wouldn't that make more sense? Well, it does, and that's how they do it in the professional world of iOS development. So to do that, we're going to create a var note, which is going to be our, this is going to be obviously a note object. And now we're going to make this note object fill up the text of these three attributes of the cell. So in order to do that, you use something called did set. And this is where all the magic happens. So now you just modify the labels. Equals note dot to do title, to do date dot text equals note dot to do date, and to do dot description dot text equals note to do. Now we're professional engineers. So if you guys were to showcase some of your projects, make sure your table views, you don't do what we did over here. Don't do this. What you're supposed to do is this. Class no cell has no initializers. Oh, my bad. I forgot to. There you go. This is how you initialize it. Oh, my bad. It's supposed to be a. There we go. Yeah, it's supposed to be a exclamation mark because we're forcing it to be a class note, no matter what.
So if you don't set the notes, it's not there.
Yeah, because it's not initialized. If you just set it like this, it's just telling Swift, hey, you're going to be a note. That's it. But if we put the exclamation mark, now we're telling it, hey, you're going to be a note and you got to do all this work. So there is a difference. And that's usually what the exclamation mark does. It forces it to initialize regardless. The other way to initialize it is, you can do var note equals note and then you initialize it. That's another way of doing it. Oh, but yeah, it's gonna be, it wants us to initialize it, but we don't have anything. So usually I initialize it without anything in it. And this is how you do it. So we're initializing a note without anything on it. Cool. So now on our all notes story view controller, we just get the note, and then we set the cell.note equal to note. Simple as that, right? That's way cleaner. It looks more professional, and it just makes sense. Because obviously, why would you do a lot of coding in this table view when you can do everything here, where there's a lot of space for you to like write code here? So that's one way of that was like one of the last steps that you guys need to do for professional coding. So this is how you implement the true ethical programming in iOS table views. So now we're going to implement the last function, which is our, where is it, right here, the add note. So this add note is located here on the save button, the yellow one right here. And we're going to implement the functionality to add a note every time that we click save. So let's go back to our add note and implement the functionality. So all you do, it's pretty simple. You get the title from the label, or the, what do you call it? The text field. So you get these items. You get the text from these items, the string. So in order to do that, you assign a variable title equal to the note title.text, and then we have to get the date, which is going to be note date equal to note date.text, and then we get the description is equal to note description.text. And then, now that you have the three basic attributes to construct a note, now we're going to call our note to construct one. So let note equal to a note, and we're going to initialize it. Come on, automatically. There you go. Oops. And now we're going to assign each variable accordingly. Title is going to be the title. For the date, we're going to give it the date. And for the description, description. Pretty simple. So we get the text from the text fields, the inputs that the user gave us. We use those inputs to construct a note, and it's giving me an error. Oh, so make sure you force unwrap it, and don't worry, because I know that I've told some of you guys that force unwrapping is bad, but I already created a safe way for it. So first, that's why I put an if statement. I created a function that makes sure that the inputs are not empty, so that we can just force unwrap it and don't have to do any if let, because that'll be just a bunch of code. So what I did instead was I created a function for you guys that makes sure that the inputs are not empty, and if it does, then it'll show you an alert controller, which I will show you how to do that. And now that we created the note, what do we need to do? So we have a note, so add it to the array. So now we call it the note dot all notes dot append note. Cool. And then we reset the fields. So what it's a function that I created for you guys. It basically, everything that the user typed in, it's gonna delete it. It's gonna delete it. So you can start typing for a new note. And that should be it. Let's run it and see the beauty come to life. Awesome. So I have this app. Let me add it to do. And let's see if that function that I told you about was correct. Cool. It gave me an error. Fields cannot be empty. So make sure that there's always got to be something. Title. Let me try to save it this time. Nope. Date. It says that the field cannot be empty for date. So okay. So let me put in the date for this. Let's make it for today at 7:45 p.m. Cool. Now I click save. And if I go back, there we go. You see the note that has been created for us. Cool. And if you guys wanted to implement something like let's say that the user, let me go out. Dang, that's a lot of apps. What if there's no note? How do we let the user know that, like, oh, you should create a note? Well, you go back to your all notes view controller, and we can create our little message that will notify the user, hey, welcome to our app. This is how you use it. So let's go to our all notes view controller, and I'm going to create an array, and I copied and pasted because it's a lot of writing, but you can create your own. So I just created a default note, and what it is, it's an array that contains one note with like a little simple welcome message saying, hey, welcome to Simple To Do, and the date, this is the due date, and you can start writing your own to-do notes here. So just make sure that it's an array and it's one note included there. I'll let you guys copy that in the meantime. Cool. And now what we can do awesome. We can go over to our function table views, and this is where we can make magic happen by telling our table view, hey man, if the all notes is empty, so in other words if the count is 0, then use the default note. Then just return the default note .count, which is, this is going to be the array that we created at the top. Else, if it's not empty, then give us that dough. Give us all the notes that you have available for us. There you go. Bad. Cool. So it's a simple way of telling our table views that if there's no notes yet, then we're going to give a default note class or a array that we create over here. Now we can go back over here and do the same. So same thing, same pattern. If note.allNotes.count is 0, then we are going to use the note from the default array. Let note equal default note of the index path dot row. And then, whoops. And then you assign the cell dot note equal to note. Else, if all notes, if it does have something on it, then we just set the note equal to all notes instead, and set the cell dot note equal to note. Cool. And then we just return the cell. So this is what I added. Simple pattern. It's the same as the one on top over here. Now let's see what it does. And we should have our own little welcome application. There you go. Welcome to Simple To Do. Now it looks pretty nice, right? When it's freshly installed, we don't see nothing. It's like it's not completely empty, but it at least gives us a welcoming message. And now we can actually start, doing some stuff to it. And if you guys notice, obviously, once we start adding stuff to our all notes, that default note is going to be gone. This one right here. So let's try it out. Test. And the due date, let's put 7 p.m. Save it. Bam, it's gone. Now replace it with whatever we have on our notes. Cool. That's it for today, guys. We learned how to professionally code in model view controller architecture in iOS. And now you should be ready, almost ready, for an interview with Google, Goldman Sachs, Microsoft. Almost there. You need next week. Once you guys complete Instagram, you're going to be super chilling. Because in Instagram, you're going to suffer, but it's going to be worth it because you're going to learn how to do everything. Database, the models, the view controllers, and the views all together in one. So you're going to be basically a full stack developer by week 7 or unit 6. So think about it. That's pretty crazy. You guys went from like what, 1 year of Python and still nothing, and then in 6 weeks, full stack developer in iOS. Pretty legit. And this is what I'll be showing you guys for next week. Next week? Yeah, next week. I'll be it's pretty cool. You guys are gonna make your own group chat app. It's in, and you're gonna call it Parse Chat. So using the knowledge for Instagram, you're gonna be creating your own chat messenger app. So you're gonna have users and the password, obviously. You're gonna create error messages, and you're gonna be able to log in, sign up for an account, and then all these messages are actually pulled from your server or the database that you're gonna be working with, and then you can start chatting with your friends. You know, you got memo, you got the other memo, and you got memo again, and then later on, I'm gonna log out and create another account called new memo, but as you saw earlier, there was new memo before. Oh, never mind. Oh, it was other memo.
Is there a reason why you always use the word memo?
It's short, simple to use. And there you go. So this is all, as you can see, this is data pulled from the internet. So you guys are going to be building your own database and everything. It's pretty neat. Cool. All right, guys. That's it for today. Thank you for coming. Let me stop the recording.